The moment you lose control. Most people destroy their own lives with a moment they were unable to control. Not because they were weak physically, not because they lacked intelligence, not because the world was unfair to them. They destroy themselves because they never learned how to remain silent when their emotions began screaming louder than their wisdom. It starts in ordinary moments: a disrespectful comment, a betrayal, a humiliating situation, an argument inside the family, a provocation at work, a message that wounds the ego. And suddenly, the mind catches fire. The heartbeat accelerates. Pride takes control. Anger begins speaking before reason has time to think. Then the damage begins. Words are thrown like weapons. Relationships collapse in minutes. Respect disappears instantly. Decisions made in emotional blindness create consequences that last for years. And when everything is over, the emotional person sits alone asking the same question humanity has asked for centuries. Why did I react like that? Because most people are not masters of themselves. They are servants of impulse. The Stoics understood something that modern society desperately tries to ignore. The greatest battle of your life will never happen against another person. It will happen inside your own mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, Book 7, paragraph 52, that a disciplined mind remains undisturbed by external events, because suffering does not begin in circumstances. It begins in interpretation. That changes everything. It means two people can experience the same insult, the same humiliation, the same betrayal, and one collapses emotionally while the other remains calm. One loses control while the other remains untouchable. One becomes consumed by anger while the other observes in silence. The difference is not circumstance. The difference is inner discipline. Most people never realize how emotionally manipulated they truly are. A stranger's opinion ruins their day. A criticism destroys their peace. A rejection weakens their confidence. A small provocation steals hours of emotional energy from them. Their emotions rise and fall according to the behavior of other people. And without realizing it, they hand control of their inner world to everyone around them. That is not freedom. That is psychological slavery. The dangerous part is that emotional reactions often feel powerful in the moment. Anger feels strong. Revenge feels satisfying. Defending your ego feels necessary. Raising your voice feels dominant. But Stoic philosophy teaches the opposite. The man who loses control of his emotions in front of others reveals not power, but dependence. Because if someone can provoke your emotions whenever they want, they can control your behavior whenever they choose. This is why silence terrifies emotionally immature people. Silence interrupts manipulation. Silence exposes insecurity. Silence forces emotional individuals to confront themselves. Most people speak compulsively because they are uncomfortable with stillness. They explain too much because they fear judgment. They react instantly because they cannot tolerate emotional discomfort. But wise people understand something deeper. Every emotional reaction carries a hidden cost. Sometimes the cost is dignity. Sometimes the cost is opportunity. Sometimes the cost is respect. Sometimes the cost is peace. And sometimes the cost is becoming the very person you promised yourself you would never become. Look carefully at the world today. People are rewarded for outrage. Social media glorifies emotional impulsiveness. Modern culture encourages people to react immediately, speak endlessly, expose every emotion publicly, and confuse emotional instability with authenticity. But this constant emotional exposure weakens the mind. A person who reacts to everything eventually becomes controlled by everything. That is why mastering silence is not passive weakness. It is psychological warfare against your own lower nature. The disciplined mind understands that not every insult deserves a response. Not every criticism deserves defense. Not every battle deserves participation. Some people lose their peace trying to win arguments that were never worth their energy in the first place. The Stoics believed that external chaos only controls those who have internal chaos, and that truth becomes uncomfortable when you begin observing human behavior closely. Emotional people are predictable. They explode quickly. They defend themselves desperately. They seek validation constantly. Their reactions expose their insecurities before they even realize what they are doing. But calm individuals operate differently. They observe more than they speak. They think more than they react. They remain composed while others lose themselves emotionally. And this composure creates something rare in modern society: presence. Because there is immense power in a person who cannot be emotionally controlled. There is immense danger in a person who has learned to remain calm while everyone else becomes emotional. And there is a reason the wisest men in history spoke less than everyone around them. They understood that silence is not emptiness. Silence is control. The real reason: people react too much. Most people are not reacting to what happened. They are reacting to what they felt. That is the hidden truth almost nobody wants to confront. Human beings love believing they are rational, calm, and emotionally balanced. But the moment their ego feels attacked, their emotional instability begins exposing itself without mercy. A simple criticism ruins their peace. A disagreement becomes a personal war. A rejection transforms into resentment. And suddenly, emotions begin controlling decisions that should have been guided by wisdom. This is why so many people destroy their own lives while believing they are defending themselves. They react before thinking. They speak before understanding. They explode before observing. And then they spend years suffering consequences created in seconds. The Stoics warned about this constantly. Marcus Aurelius understood that emotional reactions are often symptoms of inner weakness, not strength. In Meditations, Book 8, paragraph 48, he reminded himself that the mind becomes disturbed not by events themselves, but by the opinions created about those events. That means most suffering is intensified by interpretation. A disrespectful comment only controls you if your ego needs validation. An insult only dominates your mind if your identity depends on other people's approval. Emotional people rarely understand this because they spend their lives trying to control external situations instead of mastering internal discipline. And this becomes painfully visible in modern life. Look at social media. Millions of people arguing endlessly with strangers they will never meet. People becoming emotionally exhausted trying to prove themselves to individuals who do not truly matter. Entire days destroyed because someone disagreed with them online. Families divided because pride became more important than peace. Friendships ending because nobody wanted to remain silent long enough to understand instead of react. The emotional mind always believes immediate reaction is necessary, but wisdom operates differently. Wise people understand that emotional urgency is often psychological weakness disguised as importance. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Not every provocation deserves your attention. Not every offense deserves access to your emotions. Most people cannot handle this truth because their identity depends on reaction. They feel invisible without emotional expression. They believe silence makes them weak. They believe restraint means surrender. But the Stoics believed the opposite. The person who controls emotional impulses becomes difficult to manipulate. And manipulation is everywhere. Some people provoke intentionally because emotional reactions reveal insecurity. The moment you lose control, you expose your fears, your wounds, your pride, and your emotional dependence. Calm people understand this deeply. That is why they observe first. They do not rush to defend themselves emotionally because they know emotional desperation weakens perception. A disciplined mind sees what emotional people cannot. It sees intentions. It sees manipulation. It sees insecurity hiding behind aggression. And most importantly, it sees how dangerous uncontrolled emotions truly are. One emotional moment can destroy years of trust. One uncontrolled reaction can close doors permanently. One impulsive decision can create regret that lasts a lifetime. This is why emotional discipline is not optional for a meaningful life. It is essential. The man who cannot control his emotions becomes controlled by everyone around him. His mood depends on circumstances. His peace depends on approval. His identity depends on validation. That is not strength. That is dependence disguised as personality. Real strength appears when someone provokes you and you remain composed. Real power appears when chaos surrounds you and your mind stays disciplined. Real maturity appears when your emotions no longer dictate your behavior, because the strongest people in the room are rarely the loudest. Usually, they are the calmest. Silence as an invisible weapon. Silence becomes dangerous the moment you stop using it out of fear and start using it out of control. Most people cannot remain silent when emotions take over because silence forces them to confront what is happening inside themselves. The emotional mind desperately wants release. It wants to defend, explain, attack, justify, react, and prove something immediately. That is why emotionally impulsive people speak too much. They are not communicating. They are discharging emotional pressure, and this is exactly where they lose power. The moment someone can emotionally provoke you into reacting, they gain access to your mind. Your anger begins serving them. Your frustration begins exposing you. Your emotional instability becomes visible before you even notice it happening. But silence interrupts this entire process. Silence creates space between emotion and action. That space changes everything. The Stoics understood that human beings become weak when emotions move faster than reason. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, Book 11, paragraph 18, that the mind must remain stronger than pain, stronger than pleasure, and stronger than the emotional storms created by external events. This was not emotional suppression, it was emotional mastery. There is a massive difference. Suppressed emotions control you secretly. Mastered emotions obey you completely. Most people never learn this distinction. They either explode emotionally or pretend nothing affects them while silently collapsing inside. But the disciplined individual develops another ability entirely, the ability to feel emotion without becoming enslaved by it. That is where silence becomes powerful, because silence forces observation. When you stop reacting immediately, you begin noticing things emotional people never see. You notice insecurity hidden behind arrogance. You notice manipulation hidden behind criticism. You notice weakness hidden behind aggression. Emotional people reveal themselves constantly because they cannot control their impulses long enough to remain composed. And calm individuals see everything. This is why silence unsettles people. An emotionally reactive person understands predictable behavior. They understand arguments, anger, shouting, and emotional chaos. But calm silence creates uncertainty. It removes emotional access. It prevents manipulation. People become uncomfortable when they cannot control how you respond emotionally. That discomfort reveals something important. Many individuals are not seeking understanding when they provoke you. They are seeking emotional control, and silence denies them that control completely. Look carefully at the strongest people you have ever met. Truly strong individuals rarely waste energy proving themselves constantly. They do not react emotionally to every insult. They do not explain themselves endlessly. They do not fight for validation from people who contribute nothing meaningful to their lives. Why? Because inner stability eliminates the need for emotional performance. Weak people react loudly because they need external recognition. Wise people remain calm because they already possess internal certainty. This is why silence often communicates more authority than words ever could. A calm mind creates presence. A reactive mind creates exhaustion. And modern society has become addicted to emotional exhaustion. People react instantly to headlines, opinions, criticism, rejection, disagreement, and conflict. Their emotions are constantly manipulated because they never develop the discipline necessary to pause before responding. But silence changes the structure of the mind itself. The moment you stop reacting impulsively, you begin recovering power that emotions were stealing from you for years. Your perception sharpens, your judgment improves, your peace becomes harder to disturb. And eventually, something unexpected begins happening. You stop feeling the need to win every battle, because mature minds understand something emotional people rarely understand. Not every conflict deserves your participation. Some arguments are traps. Some provocations are distractions. Some people only gain importance in your life because your emotions keep feeding them attention. Silence cuts that connection. And once a person learns how to remain emotionally composed in difficult moments, they become extremely difficult to manipulate, intimidate, or control. That is why silence is not weakness. Silence is disciplined power hidden behind composure. The philosophy of Marcus Aurelius on inner control. While most men were losing themselves in fear, anger, greed, and ambition, Marcus Aurelius was governing an empire surrounded by war, betrayal, political corruption, disease, and death. Yet despite carrying responsibilities capable of crushing ordinary minds, he constantly returned to one principle above all others. If a man cannot govern himself, he cannot govern anything. That idea became the foundation of Stoic discipline. Marcus Aurelius understood that external chaos is unavoidable. People will disappoint you. Life will humiliate you. Betrayal will appear when you least expect it. Loss will eventually visit every human being. But according to Stoic philosophy, suffering becomes destructive only when emotions begin controlling judgment. That is why he trained his mind relentlessly. In Meditations Book 4, paragraph 3, he reminded himself that the power of the mind exists in its ability to remain undisturbed by external circumstances. This was not passive indifference, it was inner command. The understanding that emotional reactions often create more damage than the original problem itself. Most people never realize how dangerous emotional impulsiveness truly is. One moment of anger can destroy trust built over decades. One uncontrolled reaction can permanently damage relationships, opportunities, reputations, and peace of mind. The emotional person believes they are releasing tension, but in reality, they are surrendering control over their own life. Marcus Aurelius refused to live that way. He understood that emotions are temporary, but consequences are often permanent. This is why Stoicism teaches observation before reaction. The disciplined mind pauses. It examines the situation carefully. It separates facts from emotional interpretation, because the moment emotion becomes stronger than reason, perception becomes distorted. And distorted perception creates destructive decisions. Modern society encourages the opposite. People are taught to express every emotion immediately, to react without reflection, to confuse impulsiveness with honesty. But the Stoics saw this as weakness disguised as freedom. A person who obeys every emotional impulse becomes predictable, unstable, and easy to manipulate. Marcus Aurelius believed true freedom begins when emotions stop controlling behavior. That is the part most people never achieve. They may control their image, their career, or their appearance, but internally they remain fragile. One insult ruins their confidence. One criticism destroys their peace. One rejection changes their mood completely. Their emotional state depends entirely on external circumstances. But the Stoic mind becomes different. It develops independence from emotional chaos. This does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. Stoicism was never about becoming a machine. It was about refusing to let emotions dominate wisdom. Marcus Aurelius felt pain, frustration, grief, exhaustion, and disappointment like every human being. The difference was that he refused to let temporary emotions dictate permanent actions. That discipline created inner stability, and inner stability creates power. Look closely at emotionally reactive people. Their moods constantly shift according to what happens around them. They become controlled by praise, criticism, rejection, conflict, approval, and fear. Their peace is fragile because it depends on the world behaving exactly the way they want. But the Stoic understands something deeper. Peace built on external control is not peace at all. It is dependency. That is why Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that the mind must remain stronger than circumstances. Because once a person loses control over their inner world, the external world begins controlling them completely. And this is where silence becomes essential. Silence allows reason to breathe before emotion takes over. Silence interrupts impulsiveness. Silence creates awareness. Silence protects dignity during moments where emotional reactions could create irreversible consequences. The Stoics believed that calmness under pressure revealed true character. Anybody can appear wise in comfort. Anybody can appear disciplined when life is easy. But real mastery appears when anger rises, pressure increases, emotions intensify, and the mind still remains composed. That is the level of control Marcus Aurelius spent his life trying to build. And in a world addicted to emotional chaos, that kind of inner discipline becomes rare enough to look almost supernatural. How emotions destroy your life without you realizing it. Most people believe their greatest mistakes were caused by bad luck, betrayal, or difficult circumstances. But when you look deeper, another truth begins revealing itself quietly. Many lives collapse because emotions were allowed to make decisions that wisdom should have controlled. An angry reaction destroys respect. Pride destroys relationships. Anxiety destroys peace. Impulsiveness destroys opportunities. And the terrifying part is that emotional destruction rarely happens all at once. It happens slowly, silently, through repeated moments of lost self-control that eventually shape an entire life. This is why emotionally reactive people often feel exhausted without understanding why. Their minds are constantly fighting invisible battles. A comment ruins their mood for hours. A rejection weakens their confidence for days. A criticism stays in their thoughts for weeks. Their emotions become prisoners of external events, and eventually they wake up emotionally drained, mentally unstable, and spiritually empty. The Stoics warned humanity about this danger centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius understood that uncontrolled emotions distort judgment and slowly weaken the mind itself. In Meditations Book 5, paragraph 16, he reminded himself that the quality of life depends heavily on the quality of thoughts allowed inside the mind. That truth becomes uncomfortable once you truly understand it, because it means many people are not suffering because life is destroying them. They are suffering because they never learned how to govern themselves internally. Look closely at how emotional instability destroys human relationships. Most arguments are not created by facts. They are created by wounded pride, insecurity, impatience, ego, and the uncontrollable need to be right. People say things they later regret because emotions temporarily became stronger than wisdom. And once words leave the mouth, they cannot return. Entire families become emotionally distant because nobody learned how to remain calm during conflict. Friendships disappear because both sides chose pride instead of understanding. Relationships collapse because emotional reactions slowly replaced emotional maturity. The damage accumulates silently, one reaction at a time. And emotional destruction goes far beyond relationships. It destroys opportunities too. Many people sabotage their future because they cannot control temporary feelings. They quit too quickly because frustration overwhelmed discipline. They abandon goals because emotions became louder than purpose. They make impulsive decisions under pressure and later wonder why their lives feel unstable. The emotional mind seeks relief. The disciplined mind seeks clarity. That difference changes destinies. Modern society encourages emotional impulsiveness constantly. People are taught to react immediately, express every feeling instantly, and treat emotional intensity as authenticity. But emotional intensity without self-control creates chaos, not wisdom. The Stoics believe that emotional slavery begins when a person loses the ability to pause before reacting. Because once emotions take command, reason becomes weaker, perception becomes distorted, and consequences begin multiplying. This is why calm individuals often appear powerful without saying much. Their emotions no longer dominate their behavior. They do not allow temporary anger to dictate permanent decisions. They do not surrender their peace to every difficult situation. They understand that emotional reactions often create problems far greater than the original event itself. And this understanding creates something rare: inner stability. A stable mind becomes difficult to manipulate, difficult to intimidate, difficult to provoke. Emotional people become controlled by circumstances. Disciplined people remain centered despite circumstances. That is why emotional mastery is not just a philosophical idea. It is protection. Protection against regret. Protection against self-destruction. Protection against becoming controlled by emotions that were never meant to rule your life. Because the person who cannot control internal chaos eventually creates external chaos everywhere they go. And most people never realize their greatest prison was built by their own uncontrolled emotions. The psychological power of observing in silence. Most people spend their entire lives talking too much and observing too little. They react before understanding. They judge before analyzing. They expose their emotions before recognizing the intentions hidden in front of them. And because of this, they become easy to deceive, easy to manipulate, and easy to emotionally control. But silence changes perception completely. The moment you stop reacting impulsively, you begin noticing things that emotionally reactive people never see. You start recognizing patterns in human behavior. You notice insecurity hiding behind arrogance. You notice fear hiding behind aggression. You notice manipulation hiding behind false kindness. And suddenly, the world begins revealing truths that noise was preventing you from seeing. This is one of the greatest psychological advantages silence can give a person: clarity. The Stoics understood that emotional noise blinds the mind. Marcus Aurelius believed that a disciplined mind must observe reality without becoming emotionally consumed by it. In Meditations Book 6, paragraph 30, he reminded himself to remain calm and objective instead of allowing emotions to distort perception. Because emotional minds rarely see reality clearly. They see through fear, through pride, through insecurity, through ego. And when emotions dominate perception, people stop observing truth and start defending feelings. This is why emotionally reactive individuals often misunderstand others constantly. They hear criticism where none exists. They see attacks where there is only disagreement. They create emotional interpretations that slowly poison relationships, opportunities, and peace of mind. But silence interrupts emotional distortion. Silence slows the mind down. And when the mind slows down, awareness expands. A calm observer sees details emotional people completely miss: tone of voice, hidden frustration, contradictions in behavior, desperation disguised as confidence, weakness disguised as arrogance. The silent mind becomes highly perceptive because it is no longer distracted by the desperate need to react emotionally to everything. That is why wise people often speak less. Not because they have nothing to say, but because observation teaches more than impulsive reaction ever could. Look carefully at emotionally unstable individuals. They reveal themselves constantly. Their anger exposes insecurity. Their excessive talking exposes anxiety. Their desperate need to win arguments exposes emotional fragility. People often confess their weaknesses without realizing it because emotions weaken self-control. And silence notices everything. This is why silence becomes uncomfortable for manipulative people. Manipulators depend on emotional reactions. They need access to your anger, your frustration, your fear, your need for approval. But calm observation removes emotional access completely. And without emotional access, manipulation loses power. That is why composed individuals often appear intimidating without trying. Their silence creates uncertainty. Emotional people cannot easily predict them. They cannot easily provoke them. They cannot easily control them. Because emotionally disciplined individuals respond intentionally instead of reacting impulsively. That difference changes human interactions completely. Modern society trains people to speak constantly, to react instantly, to expose every opinion immediately. But very few people are taught how to observe deeply. And because of this, many individuals move through life blind to the intentions, behaviors, and emotional realities surrounding them every day. The Stoics believed wisdom begins with self-control, and self-control creates observation. A distracted emotional mind cannot observe clearly because it is too busy defending itself emotionally against everything around it. But the silent mind becomes powerful because it listens carefully, analyzes patiently, and speaks only when necessary. That creates emotional authority. And emotional authority creates presence. People trust calm individuals more because calmness signals stability. They respect disciplined individuals more because restraint communicates strength. Deep down, human beings instinctively recognize the difference between emotional chaos and emotional control. And nothing reveals emotional control more clearly than the ability to remain silent while observing everything. Because the person who masters observation gains something most people never develop: the ability to understand human nature without becoming emotionally trapped by it. The silence that frightens people. There is something deeply unsettling about a person who remains calm while everyone else loses emotional control. Most people do not understand this consciously, but they feel it instinctively. Calmness creates psychological pressure. Silence creates uncertainty. Emotional people become uncomfortable when they cannot predict your reactions, access your emotions, or manipulate your state of mind. That is why emotionally reactive individuals often become irritated around calm people. Because calmness exposes instability. When someone insults you expecting anger and receives silence instead, they become confused. When someone tries to provoke insecurity and finds emotional discipline instead, they lose psychological control over the situation. And when someone desperately seeks emotional chaos but encounters composure, their frustration begins revealing more about them than about you. This is the hidden power of silence. It forces people to confront themselves. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius believed that emotional control creates inner freedom because external events lose the power to dominate the mind. In Meditations, Book 7, paragraph 68, he reminded himself that the mind becomes stronger when it refuses to surrender peace to emotional disturbance. Most people never develop this strength. Instead, they become emotionally dependent on external validation. They need recognition constantly. They need to feel important constantly. They need reactions from others to feel emotionally significant. That is why silence becomes threatening to emotionally unstable individuals. Silence removes emotional feedback. And without emotional feedback, insecurity begins surfacing immediately. Look carefully at human behavior during conflict. Emotional people often increase their intensity when they are not receiving the reaction they expected. They speak louder. They become more aggressive, more insulting, more dramatic. Why? Because emotional manipulation loses effectiveness when calmness enters the room. A disciplined person interrupts emotional chaos simply by refusing to participate in it. That kind of restraint appears strange in modern society because society rewards emotional impulsiveness constantly. People are encouraged to react instantly, express endlessly, argue publicly, and transform every emotion into performance. But emotional performance weakens the mind over time. The more reactive a person becomes, the more psychologically dependent they become on external circumstances. And dependency always creates fragility. This is why calm people often appear powerful without needing dominance. Their emotional state does not fluctuate with every opinion, criticism, or provocation. They remain centered while others become consumed by emotional instability. And human beings notice this immediately. Because deep down, people respect emotional control more than emotional intensity. A person who cannot control anger appears dangerous temporarily, but a person who can remain calm under pressure appears powerful permanently. Calmness communicates confidence. Silence communicates certainty. Emotional restraint communicates inner stability. That stability becomes intimidating to people who live emotionally unbalanced lives. Many individuals secretly fear silence because silence removes distraction. It removes emotional escape. It forces confrontation with thoughts, fears, insecurities, and unresolved pain. This is why so many people constantly surround themselves with noise, stimulation, arguments, entertainment, and emotional drama. Silence reveals truth too clearly, and truth becomes uncomfortable when someone has spent years avoiding themselves emotionally. The Stoics believed that external noise weakens inner awareness. A distracted mind cannot examine itself honestly. But silence creates reflection. Reflection creates awareness. And awareness creates transformation. That transformation changes the way people experience your presence completely. Emotionally reactive people become predictable because their feelings control their behavior openly. But emotionally disciplined individuals become difficult to manipulate because they do not surrender their internal state easily. And once people realize they cannot emotionally control you, something interesting happens. Some begin respecting you more. Others begin fearing you more. Because a calm person who cannot be emotionally manipulated becomes extremely difficult to dominate psychologically. That is why silence is not passive behavior. It is controlled power. It is emotional discipline. It is the ability to remain internally stable while the world around you loses control. And in a society addicted to emotional chaos, that level of calmness becomes rare enough to frighten people who have never learned how to master themselves. How to train self-control in daily life. Self-control is not built during peaceful moments. It is built during temptation, irritation, humiliation, pressure, anger, and emotional discomfort. That is why most people never develop real discipline. They believe emotional control is something that appears naturally one day, when in reality it is trained slowly through conscious resistance against impulsive behavior. Every moment of silence during provocation strengthens the mind. Every moment of restraint weakens emotional slavery. The Stoics understood that discipline is not a talent, it is repetition. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself in Meditations Book 5, paragraph 1, that every morning he would encounter difficult, selfish, arrogant, and emotionally disturbed people. But instead of allowing this reality to make him bitter, he used it as preparation for emotional control. That changes the way you see daily life. Difficult people stop becoming obstacles and start becoming training. Every insult becomes an opportunity to strengthen patience. Every frustration becomes an opportunity to strengthen calmness. Every emotional trigger becomes an opportunity to strengthen mastery over yourself. Most people fail here because they are addicted to immediate emotional release. They speak instantly because silence feels uncomfortable. They react impulsively because restraint feels weak. They interrupt constantly because listening requires patience. But emotional discipline begins the moment you stop obeying every feeling that enters your mind. A feeling is not a command. Anger does not require reaction. Frustration does not require aggression. Discomfort does not require escape. This is where real self-control begins. The first practical step is learning to pause before responding. Even a few seconds of silence can prevent enormous damage. Emotional reactions move fast. Wisdom moves carefully. When you pause, the emotional storm loses intensity, and reason begins returning to the mind. Most regret exists because people reacted too quickly. Another essential discipline is learning how to observe emotions without becoming controlled by them. The Stoics practiced this constantly. Instead of saying, "I am angry," they mentally separated themselves from emotion. They understood anger as a temporary internal event, not an identity. That separation creates freedom. Because once you stop identifying with every emotion, emotions stop dominating your behavior completely. Another powerful discipline is reducing unnecessary speech. Most people weaken themselves through excessive talking. They explain too much, defend themselves too much, complain too much, and reveal too much emotionally. But calm individuals understand that silence protects energy, perception, and dignity. Not every thought deserves expression. Not every opinion deserves defense. Not every criticism deserves attention. The disciplined mind learns to choose peace over emotional victory. This becomes especially important during conflict. Emotional people become obsessed with winning arguments. Wise people become focused on protecting clarity. There is a massive difference between proving a point and protecting your peace. Many individuals sacrifice emotional stability just to satisfy pride temporarily, and pride is one of the fastest ways to destroy inner calm. The Stoics also believed that discomfort must be faced voluntarily. Modern people escape discomfort constantly through distraction, noise, entertainment, impulsive pleasure, and emotional stimulation. But a mind that cannot tolerate discomfort becomes emotionally fragile very quickly. This is why silence itself becomes training. Sitting quietly with your thoughts strengthens awareness. Listening more than speaking strengthens perception. Remaining calm during pressure strengthens emotional endurance. The mind slowly becomes more stable because it stops depending on constant emotional release. And over time, something powerful begins happening. Situations that once controlled you emotionally lose their power completely. Insults lose intensity. Criticism loses emotional weight. Provocations lose influence. Because the mind finally understands that emotional reactions are choices, not necessities. That is the true purpose of Stoic discipline. Not becoming emotionless. Becoming stronger than the emotions that once controlled your life. The price of not mastering your emotions. Most people do not realize they are destroying themselves until the damage becomes impossible to ignore. At first, emotional reactions seem harmless. A moment of anger, a defensive response, an impulsive decision made during frustration. But over time, these moments begin accumulating quietly, shaping personality, destroying peace, weakening relationships, and creating a life built on emotional instability. And the frightening part is that many people spend years blaming circumstances, while their own lack of self-control slowly ruins everything around them. The Stoics understood this danger deeply. Marcus Aurelius believed that the undisciplined mind becomes its own worst enemy. In Meditations, Book 8, paragraph 61, he reminded himself that a person's life is shaped by the thoughts and emotional habits repeated daily. That means emotional chaos eventually becomes identity. An angry person becomes known for anger. An anxious person becomes controlled by fear. An impulsive person becomes trapped in regret. And eventually, emotional instability stops being temporary behavior and becomes a permanent condition of the mind. This is why so many people live emotionally exhausted lives. Their minds never rest. They carry resentment for years. They replay arguments endlessly. They obsess over criticism. They become emotionally consumed by situations they cannot change. And while this is happening, life continues moving forward. Opportunities disappear. Relationships weaken. Peace slowly vanishes. Because uncontrolled emotions steal energy constantly. A reactive mind cannot think clearly for long periods. Emotional instability drains focus, weakens discipline, destroys patience, and clouds judgment. Many people sabotage their own future because they allow temporary feelings to control permanent decisions. One emotional moment can cost years of progress. One uncontrolled reaction can destroy trust permanently. One impulsive decision can change the direction of an entire life. And yet most people still refuse to train emotional discipline because reacting feels easier than controlling themselves. That ease becomes dangerous. Modern society encourages emotional dependence everywhere. People are taught to seek constant validation, immediate gratification, endless stimulation, and emotional expression without restraint. But the more dependent a person becomes on emotional comfort, the weaker they become when discomfort inevitably arrives. And discomfort always arrives. Loss arrives. Humiliation arrives. Rejection arrives. Conflict arrives. No human being escapes suffering permanently. The difference is that emotionally disciplined people survive suffering without losing themselves inside it. Emotionally reactive people collapse because they never developed inner stability before life tested them. This is why Stoic philosophy places such importance on self-mastery. Not because emotions are evil, but because emotions without discipline become destructive forces. A person who cannot govern internal chaos eventually spreads chaos everywhere they go. You can see this clearly in human relationships. Emotionally unstable individuals create tension constantly. Their moods dominate environments. Their reactions create fear, exhaustion, and instability in the people around them. Over time, others begin distancing themselves emotionally because peace becomes impossible near someone controlled entirely by impulse. And loneliness quietly begins growing. Not because the world abandoned them, but because emotional instability pushed people away repeatedly. The tragedy is that many individuals never recognize the real source of their suffering. They blame enemies, circumstances, bad luck, or difficult people while refusing to confront the deeper truth. Their emotions have been controlling their lives for years. That is why silence matters so much. Silence interrupts emotional slavery. Silence creates awareness before reaction. Silence protects the mind from impulsive destruction. And the moment a person learns how to remain calm while emotions demand immediate release, they begin recovering something most people lose early in life: control over themselves. The silence of strong men. The strongest people in the world are not always the loudest. Most of the time, they are the calmest. They do not waste energy trying to prove themselves constantly. They do not react emotionally to every insult, criticism, or provocation. They understand something most people spend their entire lives ignoring. Emotional control is power. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. While ruling one of the most powerful empires in history, he constantly reminded himself that external chaos should never be allowed to dominate the internal world. In Meditations, Book 6, paragraph 6, he reflected on the importance of maintaining a disciplined mind regardless of what happens around you. That level of control changes a person completely. Because once you stop reacting impulsively, people lose the ability to manipulate your emotions easily. Criticism no longer destroys your peace. Provocation no longer controls your behavior. Noise no longer dominates your thoughts. And suddenly, something rare begins emerging inside you. Inner stability. Most people never experience this because they spend their lives emotionally attached to everything around them. Their peace depends on approval. Their mood depends on circumstances. Their confidence depends on recognition. They become prisoners of external events without realizing it. But the disciplined mind becomes different. It learns how to remain centered while the world becomes chaotic. And this calmness creates presence. There is something powerful about a person who remains composed under pressure. Human beings instinctively recognize emotional discipline because true calmness is rare in a world addicted to emotional excess. While others react impulsively, the disciplined person observes carefully. While others lose control, the disciplined person protects clarity. That is why silence is not weakness. Silence is restraint. Silence is awareness. Silence is self-mastery. The Stoics believe that freedom begins the moment emotions stop controlling behavior. Not because emotions disappear, but because wisdom becomes stronger than impulse. A disciplined person still feels anger, pain, disappointment, and frustration. The difference is that emotions no longer dictate actions automatically. That is real power. Because the person who conquers himself becomes difficult to conquer externally. And in a society where emotional chaos controls millions of minds every day, mastering silence may become one of the rarest forms of strength a human being can develop.